a moral perspective on citizenship education on IAAS, International Citizenship Education Study. This recently book in England on teaching and moral development and democratic education, network learning for education change, getting involved with global citizenship development and search of moral value, and education and humanism. Jadi profesor ini memang fokus kepada pembelajaran moral dan pendidikan kewarganegaraan. Jadi nanti teman-teman semua harap memberikan pertanyaan yang apa ya, yang memperhatikan pembelajaran kita kali ini. Jadi besar harapan kami untuk bertanya dan membersamai kita dengan sangat-sangat. Okay? Before we start the presentation, let me prompt how the presentation will be followed. First, Prof. Wiel leaders will be present the materials. After that, there will be a question, discuss, and answer session, and followed by the conclusion. So now, allow me to welcome the speaker, Professor of Education at the University of Humanity Study in Veugelers, Netherlands, Professor Wiel Veugelers.
Yeah. Please,
Good morning, everybody. So my name is Wiel Veugelers, and it's a real Dutch name. It's even a dialect name, the south of the Netherlands. And I'm very happy to be here again at the University of Jakarta. And thanks again, Dr. Samsuri, for inviting me to be here this week. And also very nice always to meet students, talk with them. And so I think it's fourth or fifth time I'm here at the university and to give lectures, talk with students, to work together with teachers and researchers. And I'm very happy always to be here. I like it. I like Indonesia.
itu aja.
Well, I like Indonesia, but also I think that coming from the Netherlands, and as you all know, the Netherlands, Indonesia has been a colony of the Netherlands for a few centuries. And I think the Netherlands has a moral obligation to work together with Indonesia. Not to say what you have to do, but to learn from each other, to help each other. So therefore, I think it's also very important to have this kind of exchange. And I also hope, and we are planning that Dr. Samsuri is coming in a few months to Utrecht in the Netherlands to visit my university. So it's very important, I think, to have meetings, cooperations between Indonesia and the Netherlands. It's also more personal reason that I like Indonesia. My wife, Jane, often she comes with me when I'm traveling to Indonesia. She was born in Surabaya. And so her family is partly Indonesian, partly from the Netherlands. And in 1956, the family went to the Netherlands. And then after the independence, it was quite difficult for people who worked for the Dutch government. So they had to go to the Netherlands. Then Jane and her whole family, they still really like Indonesia. They like to be here. And often Jane joins me when I'm visiting Indonesia, and then we travel around. So we went to Balikpapan, Sulawesi.
Kalimantan.
Yeah, but Jane was very young. She had been living a little bit. Her father was working at Pertamina.
Pertamina.
And so it's very interesting to be in Indonesia, and I'm always struck and very pleasant for me that people are so enthusiastic and they want to make a better future for themselves, but also for the world. So, and I think your study, citizenship education, very important. For Indonesia, but in all countries, it's very important that citizenship education is a serious subject in schools. And so in my presentation, I also will refer to some developments in Europe, and also other parts of the world. And I'm happy to see that citizenship education really gets a lot of attention. So today, I will speak in particular about the relation of moral education and citizenship education. I think that these two should be combined. I think it's very important to combine these two. And I also will speak in particular in the second part of the lecture about what it means after COVID-19. So we all have suffered from COVID. And so in the Netherlands, we also had quarantine, we had closure of schools, closure of universities. And it was really influencing the public life, in particular life of students, young people. So I will speak also about what it means for moral and citizenship education. So the picture there, you see, it's a picture of Utrecht and the building of my university. It's really in the heart of Utrecht, and it's an 18th century building. And that one, so that's on my university. This is a small canal. You know, in the Netherlands, we have a lot of canals. Canal. And so I'm a professor of education there at the university. Formally, I'm already emeritus. I'm an old man, but still do a lot of things. And I really like to give lectures, to write, publishing, and to help young students. So I'll speak today about moral and citizenship education. Next one. To start, first speak about the curriculum. Curriculum is very important in education. It's about what are the goals of education, what teachers should do, but also shows possibility for teachers what they can do. And I really like this format, different level, distinguish different level of the curriculum. It's from the American educationalist John Goodlett from the University of Washington. And it distinguishes 6 levels of curriculum. One called the ideal curriculum. And these are the big ideas, particularly on the policy level. What the government wants in education, and also what it wants with a subject. For example, in your case, citizenship education. What are the general ideas? So that's what they call the ideal curriculum. It's on the policy level. The second level is the formal curriculum. And that means that are the formal regulations. How many hours the subject should be teach? What are the goals of the subject? What is the content of the curriculum? Formal content. How is the assessment organized? These are the formal aspects of the curriculum for the whole school, for the whole school system, but also for a subject. It shows what the school should do, what the teacher should do. But these two, the first two, are the level of policy. And if you do research, you can do a document analysis. And you can have interviews with relevant people. So these are the first 2 levels. Then we enter the school level. And then what Goodlett calls the interpreted curriculum. How teachers make an interpretation of the formal curriculum and of the ideas. All teachers have some space to make their own interpretation of the curriculum. Always teachers, they say, oh, this is very important, I will emphasize that. I'll give some more examples of this, I will add this. So teachers make an interpretation of the formal curriculum. It shows what teachers find important. Now, of course, they have to deal with the regulations of the formal curriculum, but they always have some autonomy, some independence for making their own choices. That's very important. And I think in university courses like in your courses, you should think about how can I make an interpretation of the formal curriculum? What do I find important? How can I work on it? So that it interpreted level, I think is very important. And if you do research, you can interview teachers about what do you find important? What do you select from the formal curriculum? How you work with it? So you can have interviews or surveys to require the interpreted curriculum. The 4th level is what John Goodlett called operationalized curriculum. And that's what teachers are to really do in the classroom. What they really are doing. And the interpreted curriculum is about what they are saying they want. And the operational curriculum is what they do in practice. And often there is a little bit difference between the interpreted curriculum and operationalized curriculum. And that's not because they are bad teachers, but it's more sometimes it's more difficult to do it. For example, many teachers say, I really want to have a lot of dialogues in the classroom. But in fact, it's not always that easy to have a lot of dialogues. So it's more often teacher corrected. So it's very important to look what the teachers are doing and how they can improve it. So that's the operationalized curriculum. As a researcher, you can observe teachers and ask them, why are you working in this way? What's your motivation? Why are you doing this? And how does this your goals, interpret it. So it's very important to make this distinction about what teachers are saying, what they want to do, and what they are doing. Not to attack teachers that they are not doing what they're saying, but to improve their work, to improve their pedagogical work. So these are the two levels of teachers. And then we enter the level of the students. The first level of the students is the experience curriculum. That's what they are doing and experiencing. It can be different from what the teacher is saying. Also now in this class, in this lecture, I'm telling a lot, and you all make some selection of it, what comes in. Experience can be different from what I'm doing. And that's important to have some idea about it. Take care of that difference. And the last is the effective. And that's what students are learning. It can be different from the experience. They can experience that it's not so important. But there can be a difference between the experience and the learning effects. I found this idea of levels became very helpful. And I had several PhDs students who did their research using this level in analyzing, for example, program philosophy, about the program, and also programs in humanist ethical education. So I thought it would be helpful to start with this level of curriculum. Any questions about this?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not actually.
This is a big introduction. Now I want to speak about the concept of citizenship. Yesterday, Dr. Samsuri showed me kind of literature I'm reading in the program, and I really was impressed by the amount of literature and international orientation of the literature. And so I think you're already quite familiar with all kinds of ideas about citizenship. And as students already must have discovered that people can have very different ideas about citizenship. People, but also nations, can have different ideas about citizenship. And it's not that easy to say what is good citizenship. It's more important to say what kind of citizenship we want to have, speaking about. And with the concept of citizenship, the last few decades, there has been quite a lot of changes in policy, in theory, in practice. And I thought that the broadening of the concept and the deepening of the concept. Originally, the concept of citizenship was linked to the nation state. The Netherlands, Indonesia, they all had their own ideas about citizenship. But nowadays, people are also speaking about regional citizenship. Particularly, a good example is the European Union, speaking about the European citizenship. But also, I know some people are speaking in the Southeast Asian area about the Southeast Asian citizenship. The more regional identities are also important for ideas about citizenship. But not only the region, but also it has extended to the global world. For many people, was speaking about global citizenship. In the second part of my lecture, I also will speak about global citizenship. So the concept has been broadening from the national level to the regional level and to the global level. Not only linked anymore only to the nation state, like in the beginning, like in the work of Marshall, but now more broadened. Also, the concept has been deepening, what I call deepening the concept of citizenship. First, the concept was only on the political level. Taking a good example is the but later on also the social level became more important. In the academic work, taken sociology, Brian Turner, he included more the social aspects of citizenship in it. And in particular, the last 2 decades, culture became more part of citizenship. So it's a deepening of the political level into the social level, into the cultural level. It's very interesting to see that this deepening of the concept of citizenship, and the deepening means that it's more going into the identity of persons. And in a way, it's very interesting and very surprising to see that in what's called a neoliberal society, many countries have a neoliberal policy, and they have a strong idea of citizenship also on the social and the cultural level. And they are saying the market is very important. But speaking about the identity of people, those governments also want to influence. Also wants to influence the identity development of people. You see that in real neoliberal nations like the Netherlands, also the United States, the UK, but also in Asia. I know from Singapore, Taiwan, Japan, but also from the Netherlands. Also from Indonesia. Yeah. I work together with Dr. Samsuri, and he's presenting often together with scholars from Asia in symposia. Then he speaks about how Asian government is trying to influence the citizenship identity of people. On Casilla and all those ideas.
Yeah.
So, as academic scientists, it's important to analyze what's going on with the concept. How the concept has been broadening, how the concept has been deepening. Deepening of the concept. So the relating of the political, social, and the cultural also means that there is a stronger link between moral education or character education, like it's called here in Indonesia and in many countries, and citizenship education. There's a stronger link between these two nowadays. Next one. If any one of you has a question, just raise your hand. Eh? Okay, good.
Assalamualaikum, Prof. My name is Cynthia Karismabuti. I'm from Education Class A. If you don't mind, I will talk about this material. People always say that Pancasila and civic education is not really needed because in school a lot of teachers. They is not officially from this major. Is is in fact the student. My question is, how about teaching in the Netherlands? Thank you.
Ulang lagi, ulang. Iya, ulang. Yang how about?
My question
Yeah,
is, how about teaching in the Netherlands? Thank you.
yeah. Teaching citizenship education, I think you'll be teaching in general. In general. So teaching,
Teaching in general or moral and citizenship?
In general.
the Netherlands. So thank you for your question, sorry. And in the Netherlands, all students have to go to school. And teaching profession, we have primary education, secondary education, and higher education. And in primary education, the teacher teach all the different subjects. I think it's about the same here in Indonesia. In the primary education, you teach mathematics, language,
Science.
what we call world orientation, it's kind of social studies, but then on the level of primary education. Often also religious studies, different subjects, but the same teacher. And in secondary education, secondary education is from 12 years old until 18, 17 or 18 years. And there you have specialized teachers for mathematics, for English, for German also, for French, for science, biology, history, geography, social studies, citizenship education, religious studies, all different subjects you have. And after 17, when students are 17 or 18 years old, they can go to higher education or to vocational education. And about half of the students are going to higher education, and about 50% of the students go to vocational education. And teaching profession in the Netherlands, I think is a very tough job. It's not that easy, but I think that nowhere is that easy. And classes are big, and students, many students have their own ideas, but also have their own abilities. So it's not that easy to manage class. But I think it's a very, very important job. And what you can realize in the past few years, that the appraisal for teaching has become more in society. And I think that's a very good point. When I'm speaking about COVID-19, I will come back to that. What's the position of education in the Netherlands? But it's a good question. So thank you.
Thank you.
I go on and speaking about learning values. In citizenship education, values are very important. Like I'm always saying, you can learn a lot about democracy, what it means, what the democracy is, how it's organized. You can develop democratic skills like debating, like finding a consensus. But the most important thing is developing the democratic attitude, that people want to be democratic. So, and with that attitude, that's about values, what people find important. So values are very important in citizenship education. Citizenship education is not only about knowledge, not only about skills, but it's also about attitudes. I hope you agree with me. So learning values.
Ya. Tak foto satu, dua. Enggak.
Bagus sih. Anjir keren deh.
Mic-nya dimatiin aja. Mati enggak kamu.
Bel, sini Bel.
Bukan ini bisa.
confronting the values in their work. Of course, in the curriculum, moral values are included. In your material for citizenship education, there are really values included. Ideas about that, but also other ideas that are included in the curriculum of the subject. That means, as teacher, you have to develop pedagogical goals. What do you find important for the development of my students? In a general sense, but also related to the subject. So as teacher, you have to think about what do you find important? What are your pedagogical goals? The third point I want to speak about is what's called here value stimulation. I don't think we can speak anymore about value transfer. It's too mechanical. From a social constructive point of view, as we just speak about, each person constructs their own idea. So therefore, you cannot speak about value transfer. But that doesn't mean that the teacher doesn't try to influence the value development of the students. And that's what, therefore I use the word value stimulation. Teachers always stimulate certain values, even if they don't want. Always stimulate certain values. And students have to respond to that. They have to take issue of it. They have to relate to that. So therefore, it's better to speak of value stimulation than of value transfer. That's value stimulation. Then about teaching value. What's now called at the moment teaching controversial issues, and that's a real big topic in the research on citizenship education at the moment, particularly the work of Diana S. and with other people as well. And that means that how can you teach controversial issues? For example, about climate change, and also about different ideas in religious, different ideas on political participation, different ideas about the global world. So I think there are controversial issues that can be controversial issues in the curriculum. I'll come back to that later on. And then it's very important that you discuss in the classroom different perspectives. What are different ideas about this topic? How should we deal with it? So teaching controversial issues is very important, in particular for value-related subjects like citizenship education. And the last point about teaching values. Teachers are really working on inclusion and exclusion. I know from Dr. Suri that one of the big topics in policy in Indonesia at the moment is inclusive education. But that schools and teachers must work on trying to include as many as possible students in their teaching in the classroom, the school education. So teachers really working on the process of inclusion, but also on exclusion. So that's the other part of it. So inclusion and exclusion. So you really must be aware of how you work on inclusion and exclusion. Any question about this part of the teachers?
Any question? Okay.
My question is, what is the most important thing to teaching moral education from young to big? What is the most important to teaching moral education for young generation today? Thank you.
I hope you understand that I will give I can give my personally question, but also I think is the most important in academic growth. And maybe it's about the same. But for me, it is important, and I'll speak later on more about it. I think it's very important that students develop a kind of autonomy. And they can make their own decisions. To develop their autonomy. Without concern of other people. Their own so the balance between autonomy and social orientation, I think that's the most important topic of moral education. And you see that in many applications nowadays. Thank you for your question. So, thank you. I just was speaking about how teachers actively in their teaching of the curriculum are working with moral values. But moral values are also school culture. They are embedded in the school culture. And when students experience values in the interpersonal relationships that are in schools, processes of inclusion of exclusion between students, also bullying, and in many countries, also the Netherlands, as real problem in schools. So interpersonal relationships are very influential on developing of moral values. The way the school is organized, if the students have some voice, can participate, or if only the teacher and the headmaster is running the business. So therefore it's important to have, as far as possible, a democratic school culture. The students have the possibility to say or to say, to have some influence, that they feel part of a community. So it's very important to make the school culture as democratic as possible. Sometimes people are also speaking about school culture as what they call the hidden curriculum. So that's curriculum that is not formal but hidden and that influence a lot on the learning of the students. So the school culture is very important. How teachers and students are working together in the classroom, in the school. So there's a responsibility for all the teachers, not only for the teachers of citizenship education. But in particular, I think for citizenship education, it's important to show a democratic culture as best as possible. I'm not saying that the students should determine everything in the school. they're not calling education. Education is trying to help them to become adults, become aware of what's going on, so they can position themselves. So, but it should be on a more dialogical and a more democratic way. And many parts of schools that are very authoritarian. You have to be here at 8 o'clock. You have to work hard. You have to be silent. Listen to the teacher. All that kind of things are part of education. So we really should think about what are the rules that you really need. How we can live together in schools in a more pleasant way.
Ya Pak, saya belum pernah send.
So the democratic school culture is so important.
Next. This section.
Yeah. Okay, next one. The part of the school culture.
Settingnya masih blur.
Nggak pernah Pak pakai itu. Oh.
Itu blurnya dihapus, blurnya dihapus. Oke. Udah.
Tapi masih blur Pak.
Sekarang pasang di display.
Aku share screen gitu Pak. Apa nggak?
Oke. Display.
Okay. Sorry for that. Troubles. Go ahead.
Next one. Yeah. The school culture also diversity. I think for citizenship education and also for moral education, it's very important that there is a diversity in the classroom and in the school. Where people from different social and cultural backgrounds are learning together, living together. So it's very important, I think, for a democratic idea. So we should combat social and cultural segregation. Therefore, I'm in favor of public schools. In the Netherlands, and I'll come back to your question about Dutch education. In the Netherlands, we have 1/3 of the schools are public, 1/3 of the schools that are Catholic, about 1/3 that are Protestant, and we have a few percentage of the schools that are Islamic, particularly in primary education. And we have a few Jewish schools. And also a few what they call pedagogical schools like Montessori, Dalton, Steiner schools. So, all those schools have to follow the same curriculum. Only for religious studies, there's a difference. The school may decide for themselves what they teach in religious studies. But the other subjects they have to teach in all the schools. And the private schools, it's not private. Those Catholic and Protestant schools, and also Islamic schools, that are fully paid by the government. So in that way, they have the same position as public schools. But comparing to the public school, those schools have a little bit more freedom to make their own choices. I think that in the Netherlands, the difference between the schools are too big. I think it's much better when students from different religious backgrounds are going together to the same school. So that they're not going to the Christian schools, but they go to the public schools where they meet people with Christian background, Catholic background, Islamic background, or people who have no religion. So I think it's very good that all those different religions are meeting each other in school. The same for social class. We have quite a lot of elite schools because people may choose to which school they can go. And those elite schools often ask a lot of extra money from the parents for all extra activities. But I think it's better if people from different social classes go together to schools. So this is a real issue. Many people are concerned about that in the Netherlands, that we have too much social and cultural segregation in Dutch education. And that relates also not maybe to the subject of citizenship education, but to the ideas that people develop about citizenship. For example, people who only can go to a school that has not so much facilities, that have no good, nice buildings, that have difficulties getting teachers. So the hierarchy in Dutch education is too big, I think. Therefore, I'm really in favor of public schools and I'm working a lot with organizations of public schools. We also should think about, when we speak about school culture and diversity, about the moral example. School will also show a moral example to the students as teacher. So therefore, I also say it's important that different kinds of teachers are working together in schools. For example, teachers from different religions, but also teachers with different sexual orientation, different social and cultural backgrounds should be part of the teacher staff to show the students that's part of normal life. So the moral example should make that also with diversity and diversity of the teachers.
The next one.
Now,
Belum
I'll move
display
to
belum muncul.
more in the direction of
Belum dimaksimalkan.
education.
Apa ini Pak? Display itu udah ada
And I use
Di sini
a starting
iya,
point
kelihatan nih Pak.
different ideas about pedagogical goals. First, we did a lot of research with teachers, students, and parents about what kind of pedagogical goals people find important. We find three groups of pedagogical goals. And the first one I call adaptation. And that's about learning to discipline, to behave well, to listen to elder people, to teachers, to adapt to the world as it is now. Adaptation. And that's really a part of traditional ways of character education. Like, for example, the work of Thomas Licona, but also the French sociologist Durkheim, his idea about socialization. So this is the first group of pedagogical goals: to discipline, listen, behave well, follow the rules. The second group of pedagogical goals is more focusing on autonomy. that people learn to make own choices, to take responsibility for their own life. Before we're asking what's the main important topic at the moment in moral education, I start speaking about this. So the autonomy development is very important. So, and you can find that in moral education in the work of Lawrence Kohlberg about moral reasoning, moral development. He developed a method that helps students in developing their own moral ideas, their own moral values. But also you can find it in the work of Anthony Giddens, the British sociologist, about agency. He was saying the structure is not only determining life, but also people have some kind of agency to make influence, to have influence on their life. So autonomy development is a second group of pedagogical goals. And the third group we find in research is the social orientation. And that can be different from, it can have different articulation. For example, care, like expressed by Nell Noddings, about how you help in other people, how you take care of other people. But also more to Paulo Freire, just for speaking already about him, there's more empowerment, about changing relationships, and giving more power to people who are underprivileged. So the social orientation can be either more psychological or more political. So we find always these three groups of pedagogical goals. The first picture is from Thomas Nicola, the second picture is Lawrence Kohlberg from Harvard, and the last one is Nell Noddings from Stanford. These are the three groups of pedagogical goals we distinguished. And I think, I hope you can have an idea about that. And what we did was analyze
Oh, di live-nya ya, Pak.
and we could find three different types of citizenship. And these three types of different citizenship have become very central in my academic work in the last 15 years. The first one, we call it adapted citizenship. And that emphasizes discipline and the social orientation, but social orientation more limited to the own community, the own group. So that's the adapted citizenship. Then the second one is the individualized citizenship, with a strong focus on autonomy, but with a weak social orientation. That you're in particular thinking about yourself. And also if you participate in society, you're not thinking so much about the public good, but more about what's best for me. So real individualized citizenship. And the third one is what I call a critical democratic citizenship. And that tries to combine the focus on autonomy and the social concern. So a better balance between autonomy and the social concern. That's the third one, critical democratic citizenship. And in research, we ask also teachers and so on which type of citizenship you find important. They skills for that. And also we ask them, how much are you practicing it? And then we find this striking difference. In the Netherlands, about half of the teachers are saying that they emphasize a critical democratic citizenship. We find that important. But as we ask them, what are you doing in practice? They say, I do a lot on adaptive citizenship. You have to be on time, you have to work hard. All that kind of things they are working on. And also they say, in our system, with a lot of selection, with a lot of assessment, we also do a lot of, individualized citizenship. So there can be a difference between the ideas, think about what I said in the beginning about the levels of the curriculum. There can be a difference between the ideas and between the practice. And we see that also in citizenship education. We also we had a very good survey that represented a sample of Dutch teachers. And we could also see difference between vocational education and about general secondary education. And then they were about the same on critical democratic citizenship and the vocational teachers were more focusing on adaptive citizenship and the general education teachers more on individualized citizenship. So there can be a difference between teachers of different school types. You also look on difference between young and older teachers. And surprisingly, young teachers were quite focusing on adaptive citizenship, particularly the practice. But they say we have to learn teaching, and therefore we wanted to have some discipline. And as once one of my students said, "Oh, Wiel, I really love your ideas about critical democratic citizenship. But when I'm teaching, I hope my students are adapted. Otherwise, my work is too difficult." But I think the important thing about this is that
It's freezing. Oh, that one?
so the important thing about these different types is it shows that there are there can be different orientations in citizenship. And also that the practice is a combination of those three types. You never full-time only for critical democratic. Even I'm saying we also need some adaptation. Sometimes people were blaming me, "Oh, you're only speaking about critical democratic." Oh, no. I'm speaking about critical democratic because most people are only speaking about adapted. So therefore, I pay so much attention to a more critical democratic way. So my question to you is, just before the break, my question to you is, if you must have 100%, how much you divide about adapted, individualized, and critical democratic? Think about it, and also try to give some arguments why you choose that. So take a few minutes to think about it and to speak about with your neighbor students about the percentage you choose.
Let me translate it in Indonesia, Prof. Kata Prof ini dari slide ini, pendidikan kita yang mana? Pendidikan kewarganegaraan kita tuh ke arah mana? Adaptive citizenship, individualis, atau critical demokratis? Menurut kalian yang mana gitu? Nanti bisa pakai bahasa Indonesia, nanti bisa kita bantu translate-kan. Yeah, you can also ask in Indonesia and we will translate it in English. Jadi boleh diskusi sama teman-temannya, dikasih waktu sama Profnya. Mana pendidikan kewarganegaraan mana yang lebih dominan di Indonesia?
Oh, 5 minutes.
Oh, that's funny. 5 menit, silahkan.
Diskusikan mana yang menurut kalian, tipe mana yang menurut Anda rasakan.
Indonesia is really
Individualized, adapted, atau
critical democracy.
saya asistennya dia.
Ini ada juga.
Okay.
Kita udah belajar ini ya, Prof, Pak ya di kelas. Ya. Mana yang lebih dominan di Indonesia? Adaptive citizenship, individualis, atau critical demokratik? Warga negara yang kritikal, warga negara yang individualis, atau warga negara yang adaptive?
Baik, bahasa Indonesia nanti diterjemahkan. Siapa yang mulai?
Raise your hand. Oh, ini Pak, di depan ada. Tepuk tangan ini semua. Berdiri lah.
Menurut saya yang warga negara kita itu ada sebab karena pendidikan warga negara kita itu yang pengamatan saya kita lebih mengedepankan masyarakat kita gitu. Jadi untuk sikap individualistik atau pengajaran-pengajaran yang mengedepankan sikap individualis seperti itu lebih dikesampingkan. Jadi bagaimana masyarakat kita lebih di masyarakat kita atau komunitas kita didahulukan, baik itu masyarakat dalam bentuk agama, sosial, atau bahkan keluarga.
Okay, he said about the type of citizenship in Indonesia. He said about adoptive citizenship because we are learning in school about how to be a humble person, how to be a good citizen, how to respect each other, just like that. Not to be individualistic. That's it. So, ada lagi? Ayo, ini tadi kan yang adaptif. Ada lagi nggak yang mau komen? Kak, kalau adaptif mah udah biasa aja. Kalau kami sih, kalau aku lebih individual gitu. Anyway, nggak apa-apa, coba aja. Nanti kalau misalnya Mbak, ayo raise your hand. Oke, silakan. Cantik.
Di saya sendiri kita menggunakan kritikal demokrasi. Bagi saya sendiri menggunakan critical democracy synthesis combination of focus autonomy and social control. Itu kan bermaksud kita juga fokus kepada autonomi ya Pak, dalam artian berpikir kritis dan demokratis sesuai dengan fokus kita kan di Indonesia itu kan berkedaulatan, apapun itu kita itu bebas menyatakan pendapat dan sosial concern itu apa ya? Dan kepedulian sosial. Dan itu bagi saya kita itu menggunakan kritikal demokrasi. Apapun kita itu masih harus berpikir kritis untuk menentukan suatu kepedulian juga.
He said about critical democratic citizenship because we are as a human being, so we always concerned with social lifestyle and kind of like that. And as Indonesian, we learn about Pancasila and and kind of like that. So it's about critical democracy, how to pretend the what was that in English? The government. How to critical the government and about the policy that they make and kind of like that.
Okay, but there's always a balance.
Yeah, there's always a balance. So ayo satu lagi yang kan tadi pertama adaptif terus critical, ada nggak yang punya sifat individualis? Kayak nih, aku bisa apa sendiri nih, aku gini nih gitu. Ada nggak? Ayo.
Oh, no confidence.
Menurut saya setuju sama yang pendapatnya dia tadi. Soalnya kalau di Indonesia ini pemerintahannya itu kan juga kalau ada pemilu itu kan berdasarkan suara terbanyak seperti itu.
Okay.
We agree about the last question, critical democracy, because in Indonesia we have the election. We choose the president. Hold on, we choose the president. So, we agree about critical democratics. Nggak ada lagi, ayo. Yang tengah tuh individual, ayo. Yang individual nih, gimana menurut kalian? Jadi warga negara individual itu seperti apa?
Thank you for your participation.
Oke, tepuk tangan untuk kita semua.
So my idea about the Netherlands, youngsters in the Netherlands, I think in the Netherlands we have a too strong focus on individualized citizenship. Dutch youngsters are they need a lot of space, and sometimes they have a big ego, and they have no opinion about everything. They talk a lot. They have an opinion about everything. Sometimes I think it's good that they have a strong autonomy, but they should also have a strong social concern. And I think the balance between autonomy and the social concern could be better in the Netherlands. And I think in many Western countries, I think one of the good, what I always feel here in Indonesia, but also in other parts of Asia, but also, for example, in Latin America, the social orientation is stronger. And I think it's very important that when those societies like Indonesia modernize and make autonomy stronger, that's a good thing. But they shouldn't lose the social orientation. So what I'm sometimes saying to my colleagues and friends in Asia, so we should become more social in the West.
Yeah.
And in the East, in particular, for example, in China, we should become more autonomous. So we should always have a balance between that, good balance. So that's a challenge, I think, for citizenship education worldwide. So I think this is a good moment for having a break. And on finding the result of an international study about Dutch schools, and that surprisingly for many people, it was an international comparison of quite a lot of countries. And the Dutch students, they were the most positive about their school of all those countries. But when the researchers could analyze their data, it was because they liked having breaks and meeting friends in schools.
Yeah.
So they didn't like the teaching.
They didn't like the teaching. They want to meet
social aspects of school, hanging around. There was a very funny result of a research. So now you have the time to hang around and meeting your friends. And how long did it take to break?
Ada istirahatnya enggak? 15 minutes, 15. 15, 15.
15, yeah.
20 minutes. Oh,
20 minutes?
yeah.
Okay.
You know,
Oh, yes, good, that's past 10. Okay, go on. So have a nice break and 10 minutes past 10, we go on.
Oke, teman-teman, kata bapaknya, kita dikasih waktu 20 menit untuk istirahat, untuk refresh otak, habis ini kita belajar lagi. Gitu. Jadi ada 20 menit, silakan. Bapak boleh meninggalkan ruangan?
boleh.
Oh, oke, boleh meninggalkan ruangan, tapi balik lagi kita on time ya, karena kita adalah contoh guru masa depan. Pak Adi punya yel-yel. We have something like to make cheer up. Ice breaking, oke? Oke. Kalau tadi ingat ya, kalau Pak bilang Pancasila, civic education, kalian bilang apa? Ingat ya, once again. Pancasila and civic education. They say building the character, rise the world. Silakan boleh meninggalkan ruangan, mau pergi dulu, mau pipis juga boleh. Silakan. Ih, bagus. Oke.
has some importance. And like your status of citizenship education, and also I'm a scholar. I think we really want to emphasize the globalizing morality, human rights, democracy, participation, empowerment, ideas like that. But this is always a picture. And I like the notion of reflection. By a good friend of me from England, Michael Goodson, and he used that the term to these are international development, and each country adapt that to its own situation. That's what Desember used to the word reflection. In these ideologies, international studies are very important. I'm recently involved in the ICCS study, international study and citizenship education. But so after he was involved also in 2009 in study of Indonesia, and that study tries to compare how that the development of citizenship is going on in different countries. And I'm a member of the Program Advisory Committee, and we really want to try to make it as international as possible, and to show different ideas. This is about international influence. Very strong. Then some remarks about the notion of democracy. Like citizenship, also about democracy, people can have different ideas about democracy.
They were crazy.
And since you probably heard about different ideas of democracy. And I'm particularly impressed by the work of Chantal Mouffe. This was working together with Ernesto Macron. And they say they really make a difference between the liberal democracy that only focuses on freedom and rights, and what they call a democratic democracy, and that's focusing more on equality, combating inequality, and the involvement of all. So it's more also linked to what Barbara was saying about a strong democracy. It's ideas like that. So democracy more focusing on social justice, on equality. So it's a democracy that is not only a mechanism of voting and trying to make consensus, but also to change. And I think it's important to look at different ideas about democracy. And of course, my background, I'm more focusing on the social justice oriented way of democracy. It also makes, you also can say that democracy is never, never finish the job. It always can be improved. So that's very important. And I think your task as teachers of citizenship is also try to improve democracy. And I really like the phrase of Paulo Freire. We want to make the pedagogy more political and the political more pedagogy. And I paraphrase that, making the moral more political, and political more moral. Then, so recent developments in citizenship. And in a recent article I wrote for the journal Compare, I made the argument that at the moment culture gets a lot of attention in citizenship. Culture means how different groups are living together, different ethnic and cultural backgrounds. but also about what is national identity. So the culture gets a lot of attention, but at the same time, we get less attention for social class and power relations in citizenship. So I emphasize it's good that there is attention for culture, but citizenship is not only about culture. Citizenship is also, and maybe principle, about politics. Politics is about power relations. Also, a recent development in citizenship is that, particularly over the last few years, people are looking in the national history, the national citizenship, strongly focusing on their own history and their own culture. We also see that in the Netherlands. So the Netherlands for citizenship, they made it what they call a canon of the Dutch history, important periods of the Dutch history. And the critics of that canon was that it was too positive. We didn't speak a lot about, let's say, the bad things of the Dutch history. For example, the period after the Second World War, what we did here in Asia with the independence struggle of the Indonesians. We didn't pay, the critics was that we don't, in Dutch teaching, in the Dutch teaching of history, we don't pay enough attention to what we did wrong in that period. So people say we should change that idea, that curriculum, the part of the curriculum. Nowadays they are working on that to show more the different perspectives, the Indonesian perspective and the Dutch perspective. For example, it's a little bit strange but funny. Indonesia is saying we became independent in 1945. We are saying in the Netherlands, the formal idea that Indonesia became independent in 1949. And so it's important to show different perspectives, and not only looking from your own point of view to history. We also will have a debate in the Netherlands about colonialism and slavery.
Yeah, slavery.
And in particular, the Dutch VOC did a lot of the slavery. They brought a lot of people from Africa to Suriname. And now there's a discussion that the Netherlands should make their excuse for that. And they're still struggling about what kind of words the policy should use and who should speak about the excuse. And the same with when Dutch politicians are coming to Indonesia, and also are struggling always with what kind of words they should use to speak about what has gone wrong when the Dutch were here in Indonesia. That's not easy, but this kind of debates. But I think it's part of citizenship education to learn students about those different histories, those different ideas.
Different perspective. Different
Perspective from the Dutch in Indonesia, so we have to learn from the another side.
Yeah.
So that's very important to learn from different perspectives. And the recent development is that dealing with controversial issues, I said that before, in particular the work that Diana has supported is that but also some leaders from Cyprus. And I also did some research on controversial issues in Dutch schools. And in particular, we find problems with dealing with controversial issues in traditional Christian schools and in traditional Islamic schools in the Netherlands. And that has to deal, for example, with Christian schools with theory. Some Christian schools, some teachers don't want to teach about evolution. They say,
Yeah.
God's shape.
God create human like good things, not from the monkey or the chimpanzee. God created human from the Adams, not from chimpanzee, kind of like that.
So in religious studies, you can speak about that.
Mhm.
But in biology,
Yeah.
you should teach evolution theory.
Yeah.
And some teachers in Christian schools, they don't want to teach that.
Yeah, and it's the same as in Indonesia too.
Yeah. And other controversial issues, in particular more traditional Islamic schools, are teaching about the Holocaust and about the Second World War and what happened to the Jews in the Second World War. So that's a controversial issue in traditional Islamic schools. And also, for example, Palestine.
Palestine.
Palestine question is also a controversial issue in many schools.
Yes. Same as in Indonesia too. Yeah. Same as in Indonesia, we also have like a controversial issue that what's that in English? That school what's that in English? They cannot allow to teach the student about something controversial issue. Yeah, same as in Indonesia.
And it's both that sometimes teachers don't want to do it, but also that sometimes teachers don't want to speak about controversial issues because it brings too much tension in the classroom.
So much attention.
Yeah. So it's not that easy, but we should work on it. And I think it's important that you learn students to argue from different perspectives. In many cases.
In many cases.
Not only when there are controversial topics, but also, for example, to discuss what kind of music you like.
And what kind of music you like.
Or what kind of satay you like. So, just to show that there are different perspectives, different ideas, and people like different ideas, and so that people are used to think in different ways before they start discussing controversial issues.
Ya, kalau di pendidikan kita harusnya lebih terbuka lagi, bukan hanya mengejarkan tentang kontroversi isu, tapi juga bertanya kayak lebih luas lagi kayak apa musik favorit siswa, pernah nggak ditanya gitu? Nggak pernah kan? The teacher never asks a student about the teachers never in here, almost student over here, the teachers never ask them about what's your favorite food, what's your favorite food. They never ask about that. The teacher never asks about that. Yeah, because it's our policy maybe, or policy in education, kind of like that. Kasihan ya, kasihan. Ya, naik berubah Pak. Iya.
This is most important. What we say is unpolite, but you also can say your voice is important.
Yeah, your voice is
I want to know how you think about it.
yes.
And you may express your ideas with David Simmons.
Kalau di Belanda itu ditanyain, kamu sukanya apa, musiknya, makanannya apa. Jadi bukan tentang hanya pelajaran aja. Kegiatan lain pun ditanya sama gurunya. Nah ini yang harus kita contoh ya nanti kalau jadi guru di masa depan. Thank you. Bukan kepo ya nanya kayak kamu sukanya apa gitu. Karena setiap suara itu punya perhitungan gitu. Kata.
As teacher, we should respect them. Students don't want to speak about it.
Oh.
And we should respect that they have other ideas than you.
Ya, kalau nanti kita jadi guru, kita boleh nanya, tapi kita nggak boleh maksa. Kita boleh nanya, kita nggak boleh maksa. Kita harus mentang-mentang ibu gurunya suka K-pop, anaknya suka rock, terus kita nggak kita paksa untuk suka K-pop kan tidak seperti itu. Jadi kita tidak boleh memaksa, tapi kita harus open-minded gitu, open-minded.
I think that's very important for citizenship education, that people feel free to express their ideas.
Iya. Warga negara yang global yang baik itu sekarang tuh harus express your bahasa Indonesianya apa ya? Your mind. Ya, express your feeling, your mind itu kalau sekarang. Jadi kita nggak bisa samain ya Pak sama zaman dulu ya Pak ya. Time flew so fast. Open-minded.
But it's also very good to start thinking about it. And sometimes people ask questions like this, don't do anything about it. It's also good to think about it. Okay, now the last part of the lecture, COVID-19 and citizenship. First about COVID-19 citizenship and then about COVID-19 and education. COVID-19 has shown the real global interdependency. And really show we are living in a global world. But it also has shown the negative consequences of globalization. For example, that people travel so much and spread the virus all over the world. This is part of globalization.
It's part of globalization. Yeah, Prof. Yes, Prof.
So, and also, the negative aspects of globalization was that it shows how much countries are independent of other countries nowadays. Because the Western world was so important from Asia, in particular, from China, Japan, and South Korea, all kinds of products. And they couldn't come anymore to the Netherlands. There were logistic problems. So it really showed the negative aspects of globalization as well. But it also showed the complicated relation of human beings and nature. The virus could transfer from animals to human beings. It also challenged the trust in science in the government. In many countries, there are discussions about what exactly is the consequences of the virus. What should we think about the vaccines? What should we think about all the measurements, all the actions of the government, like quarantine, school closure, university closure? In the Netherlands, the first time after the Second World War, we had, for what's called the evening clock after 8 o'clock. We were never allowed to go outside
Oh,
the house.
after 8 o'clock.
After 8 o'clock in the evening, for 3 months. That was the first time after the Second World War. And it was in the Netherlands. So there was really developments that are entering the personal world. So this whole challenge, what really challenges for science and for government. And each government made their own local and national responses.
Yes.
Frozen of waters, stress level. You have to take all kinds of measures, like the distance, the mask,
The mice.
all these measures. And also, take less empowerment for people. There are many regulations. I'm not saying that they were bad, most of them were necessary.
Necessary.
But with COVID-19 and the whole policy about it really has influenced personal life of people. What to do in society and politics? In general, I think for citizenship education, we shouldn't argue principally for what is wrong, but we should argue for what we say is a good society and how we can reach that. Say what the colleague of me once said, we shouldn't teach so much about the problems in society. We should teach more about the possibilities in society. I think that's very important.
That's very important. That's very important.
And so that means, I'm trying to formulate positive, what we should do, that we should live good with nature. Not only for the violence, but the whole environment we should take care of. In the Netherlands, we really are speaking about what climate change means for the Netherlands and how we, for example, in the Netherlands, we have too much agriculture, too many animals.
So many animals. Yeah.
And that gives too much ammonia. That's bad for the sustainability of the country, for the forest, things like that. So we really have to be good with nature, think about how we get good with nature. We also really have to think about what is good health care for all people, not only for the privileged people. What's good health care? It's so important. And the COVID showed how important it is that we have good human interaction, care for each other. It also really show how important it is community building.
Yeah, community building.
Community building is so important for society. We should develop empowerment of people, all people. Trust people, trust politicians, also that politicians work in a way that people can trust them. And then we should carefully for the global world. Formulate positive possibilities.
Positive and
Not
possible.
only saying to the students, you are living in a world that has so many disasters, so many crises, and you should help to solve the problems we create. No, we should learn that how we can make a better society. That's about what to do in society and politics. Now more to education. about teaching and learning more on citizenship education during COVID. First, I speak during COVID and then after COVID. In many countries, there was a lot of online learning at schools and universities. Some students also like a lot of online learning. And online learning also showed that depends a lot on available devices, what people have at home on devices, what kind of space they have at home. That students, when there was online learning, could sit in a separate room to work, to learn, to work. It also showed how important the support of parents was. Parents could help the students. And in general, it really shows inequality. Inequality that is already in society really became visible during COVID. They also related to online learning. And the teachers, with me, that for them it was more difficult to get a good view on learning. What the students were exactly learning. It was different to monitor. Online learning is good. The good aspects was more difficult to monitor than in the classroom. It also really showed how important the social development in school was. Comparing online learning and learning in the classroom, the social aspect is less visible in online learning than the classroom learning. And everybody, teachers, students, during COVID-19 in the Netherlands and also in other countries, they really say the social part of education, we will miss it. Many students, they really will miss at school. But they are missing also their friends at school. But they are missing school. So it really showed in the paradoxical way how important education is for the social development of students. So teaching and learning was less neological, less teachers had an overview, and was less part of the community. So people really became aware of the important role of education. That was during COVID. Interesting research recently research on the effects of COVID on the learning effects of students. And Dutch students, after COVID, they did worse than before on languages, or Dutch language, or mathematics, but they did better on English. Funny. So during COVID, probably they were gaining a lot and were looking a lot on TV. So they learned more English than they normally learn in school. I really like this kind of surprising research. Yeah. So after COVID, what should we do? Nowadays, people are speaking about hybrid and blended learning. And also here in the university. Dr. Samsoon showed me yesterday the e-learning environment, and that looks very good, very well done, and very interesting, and very educational, I think. So blended learning is good. during COVID, we learned how, I think many schools made a lot of improvements in e-learning. And now we should find a good balance between how we can use aspects of e-learning together with classroom learning. We should find a good balance in that. And really use what's the strength of classroom teaching. We can work on community building. In schools, can be more dialogical, can be inclusive. It's important also to have a link with the local community, caring for the local community. Also a more global orientation, more equality. And this all means that people should develop ideas about what is good citizenship. And as you already understand, I'm really a fan of a critical democratic citizenship. But also what is good nature, what is good sustainability, and what is good health for all. So I really hope that we learn from COVID that the social aspects of learning, living together, are so important. We should really work hard on that. And also that we really should work hard on the relationship with nature. You see the book series I have, the Wiel and more challenges. Sum up and conclude. About learning. Students give personal meaning to values, and they develop these in dialogue with others and with other resources. So that's the first part of my lecture, the dialogical way of thinking about learning. Teachers guide these learning processes and intervene dialogically, driven by the purpose and goals of education in their own pedagogical ideas. That's the way teachers are working. Students are learning and teachers try to help them intervene in their development. And do that from their vision on education, their pedagogical ideas. Learning from a different perspective is important for democracy and dealing with controversial issues. We cannot emphasize enough how important it is to learn from different perspectives. Besides, in the curriculum, values are also embedded in school culture. And school culture can be more democratic. And social and cultural diversity is part of inclusive and democratic education at schools. And for teaching, students should be challenged to learn more reflectively, dialogically, and democratically. So those three ways of learning I explained in the beginning. And teachers should try to help students to develop their citizenship, hopefully, that's the democratic type. And I think, and that's my last point, I think we all, citizens and scholars, should appreciate more the moral work of teachers. They can play a crucial role in making society more democratic, just, inclusive, and sustainable. I think we have a very important task. And I think we're working seriously on that. So thank you for your attention. This book is open access. You can download the book.
Ini bukunya Prof-nya ya.
And education for democratic and cultural citizenship. So Wiel.com. There's also my website, information, my email address. if you want to ask a question or something like that. So this is what I wanted to say. Maybe you have some more questions.
Prof, we have a question from the Zoom. One of them asks about Suyatno. Ya benar ya, Suyatno ya. Suyatno, Pak Suyatno. Okay, Pak Suyatno asks us in your Zoom meeting, dear Mr. Wiel, what do you think about the acceptability of Pancasila value as an alternative solution to solve the problem faced by international community in dealing with political decay endorsed by neoliberalism? Yeah. If you don't mind, you can answer that question.
Yeah. Because interesting point, and I'm now making a special issue for Journal of Moral Education on associate editor of that journal about moral and citizenship education in East Asia. And Dr. Sohanto, Dr. Samsuri, he is writing an article on that, and in particular about citizenship education. And I think it's a lot of very good elements of Chile. But I'm not the expert on Chile, so but there are very good elements in in particular that social orientation that's very well articulated. There's only one part of the Chile, and I will explain that. I went to first of humanistic studies, and that's linked to the humanist movement in the United States. Humanism in the Netherlands is considered as a worldview with the same rights as religious. So we have teachers who are teaching humanist technical education. I'm teaching them, and also humanist counselors, hospitals, and the army, and things like that. And so humanist is considered as a worldview. And but we are very open to other ideas. Not that everybody needs to be a humanist, but only needs to take responsibility for their own life. That can be partly for in one religion. But surprisingly, so in Indonesia, citizens you have to choose between seven religions.
Yeah.
You cannot choose for having no religion.
Yeah, we have to. We should do.
Or choose for humanists. So that's a little bit strange with the idea of
Okay.
But I really appreciate that university here, they are very open. And,
Yes.
and that they invite such person like me who doesn't believe. I was brought up as Catholic, but I don't believe anymore. But they are open
To study.
Yeah. So that's I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for the interesting talk and discuss for today, Prof.
Maybe someone has a last question.
Ada yang mau bertanya? Satu pertanyaan terakhir. Ada yang ingin bertanya? Di depan ada, di belakang ada. Ada dua, Pak. Di depan sama di belakang. Yang cewek dua aja. Satunya lagi ini. Tadi yang cewek ada yang katakan. I have a question from.
Oh, dia dulu apa? Aku ya, aku nanya dulu. Holland.
Thank you, Prof, for the time. And I would like to ask about when you, if I'm not wrong, you say it's not easy to say what is the good citizenship are. We cannot say that this one is good, that one is good, another one is good. We cannot say that the other one is not really good though. My question is, for me as a future teachers, teaching the moral and citizenship, it's hard for me because nowadays all of the citizenship, they learning a lot from the internet and they ask the teacher, Miss, what about this one? What about this one? What about this one? They are more critical than before the COVID. So it's more challenges for us, the future teacher, to learning again about the moral and citizenship. So if you don't mind, can you give us like more advice as a future teacher, how to be a good teacher for Gen Z, millennial generation? Thank you, Prof.
And I'm not a relativistic person. I'm not saying everything is good. And certain ideas about what is good life, good democracy, good personal life, good social life. But it's important to show to students that you are also open to other ideas. And I'm not saying everything is the same kind of goodness. Also show that within one idea, for example, democracy, there you can have different ideas. And also consider one idea about a nice social life, also can have different ideas. So balance between showing what you think is important and
Being open.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Tadi kata Profnya, nanti kalau kita jadi guru kita harus balance. Kita tetap menerima perubahan, tapi kita kalau ada hal-hal prinsip yang harus kita jelaskan, tapi ketika kita ada hal-hal yang bisa untuk menerima pendapat orang lain juga harus kita terima. Jadi harus balance. Prinsip boleh dipegang, tapi harus tetap open minded. Nggak pikir kalau guru yang paling benar, guru yang ini juga. Guru juga harus tetap belajar dan update ilmu seperti itu. Thank you so much, Prof. Anyone has question? Ada lagi yang mau bertanya? Ada satu.
My question is probably
Let's give content about Netherlands. Is it okay to ask about that? Yeah, nggak apa-apa.
Some months ago, Dutch farmers went protesting to the Netherlands government because they planning to cut CO2 emissions, which for the farmers, it means they will need to cut their cattle numbers in order to meet the required or maximum CO2 percentage set by the government. For them, they feel the government discriminating them. Meanwhile, the government also need to meet the EU and global goals to combat the climate change. Of course, climate change is real, but to combat it, I think many people like food are going to sacrifice for it.
Maksudnya sacrifice.
My question is did you in making their choice in this matter?
I think it's good.
Apa?
Translate ke bahasa Indonesia.
Bahasa Indonesia. Apakah pemerintah pemerintah Belanda? Apakah pemerintah Belanda melakukan hal yang baik atau tepat dalam menentukan pilihan mereka dalam hal dalam permasalahan yang saya sebutkan di atas?
Emosi karbon.
If you don't mind, sir, because it's out of our topic. If you don't mind, you can answer it. But if you don't want, you just say don't want because it's out of our topic.
This is real about citizenship.
Okay.
For
Boleh.
citizen education. If I understood well, you asked about the recent policy about migrants. About migrants that have more difficult to for example, to get their family.
Not about immigration, about the new law that's talking about to cut emission.
The Dutch, the Netherlands government, they make decision to cut the emission carbon, and they make a decision, and how about that?
Carbon reduction. Well, we're not going that fast. And I was speaking about that before. We have too many animals, and we are traveling too much, and we are using too much of the resources of the world, and the Dutch policy is a strange mix between some nice ideas about the world and very economic oriented early morning.
Yeah.
We were here. It was already our colonial time here, but still it is. You can see that, for example, with the migration issue, that we are making it more difficult for people to enter the country. It's also related to the point you mentioned about carbon reduction. Yeah, we could do better, much better than that.
We could have been much better.
And that's a little bit the same as with what I was saying with our Dutch students. On the moral way, on the general moral way, there are good ideas, but when it becomes political, it's less. I also did recently 2 researches for the European Parliament about the policy of citizenship education in different European countries. You see in many countries on the level, ideal level, they have very nice ideas. But when you go more to the formal level, so we should do better. Thank you.
Atau Prof-nya bahwa negara Belanda akan mengupgrade lagi, tetap berusaha lagi membuat peraturan yang lebih baik lagi untuk menekan climate change gitu ya, menekan perubahan iklim, karena sebelumnya di Belanda itu banyak kanal ya. Jadi di Belanda itu untuk apalagi di Utrecht, karena teman saya ada yang tinggal di Utrecht. Nah, jadi mereka tuh banyak menggunakan kapal-kapal kanal. Kanal tuh apa bahasa Indonesianya? Pusat air gitu. Nah, jadi itu salah satu cara yang mereka gunakan untuk menekan emisi gas karbon sebenarnya. Seperti itu. Jadi public transportation tuh benar-benar digunakan di sana. Orang kemana-mana jalan, lihat orang Eropa kemana-mana jalan. Mana ada mereka naik motor? Karena ya tadi mereka menekan karbon itu tadi, oke? That's all for this section. Okay, thank you very much, Prof, for the interesting discussion, and thank you very much for all of my audience. Big applause for us. Ini maba ya, Pak ya? Ini maba tapi keren. Udah kayak S2 nggak sih Pak? Kritis-kritis, iya keren. Oh masih sama. Okay, thank you very much, Prof, for giving us such more interactive and interesting presentation for this. And okay, ladies and gentlemen, we finally come to the end of the seminar. And before I close the seminar, I would like to give you some conclusion from what the Prof said. And we had a lot of point here. The first point is 6 level of curriculum. We have ideal, formal, interpreted, operational, experienced, and effective. So it's not easy to say what is the good citizenship are. Nggak mudah kalau kita bilang mana sih kewarganegaraan yang paling bagus tuh mana, kita nggak bisa bilang itu mana warga negara yang baik, karena nggak mudah, karena kewarganegaraan itu tentang attitude, learning it's a social activity, belajar itu adalah tentang aktivitas sosial. Terus kita ada 3 tahap belajar, tadi reflektif, dialog, dan demokratif, dan kita semua sudah menerapkan ini ya Pak ya. Kemudian balance, and kalau di Belanda itu balance antara critical dan demokrasi itu balance di Belanda. Kemudian ada 3 different type of global criteria. Yang pertama open global citizenship, moral global, dan social political global. Terus kita juga punya 4 ideologi. Yang pertama, nationality, school for a global free market, pretend ideology of IMF, economic rules, globalization, morality, and environment ideology. Kemudian yang terakhir, COVID and citizenship. Dengan adanya COVID ya, negara itu bisa diberikan kebebasan untuk menerapkan aturannya sendiri terhadap iklim, terhadap human and natures, challenging and science and government, populist, local, and nationalist. That's all from me, Prof. I'd like to thank you again for your time and informative and interesting discuss. Big applause for Prof again. Finally, on behalf of Yogyakarta State University, I would like to say that enjoy Yogyakarta, Prof. I know it's not the first time that you will hear, but Yogyakarta is always about love. Apa? Jogja itu apa? Jogja bukan hanya angkringan, cinta dan kenangan. So we should to miss you for the next event again, Prof. Masih gitu ya? Oke. Ada foto-foto nggak Pak?
Oke.
She did a very good job.
Last one, give the applause for the speaker and thank you for your attention. And kalau saya bilang Pancasila, civics education, bilang apa? Build the character, rise the world. Oke? Okay? Prof aja Pak yang ini. Nanti dulu tak rekam.
Gimana bilangnya?
Pancasila and civics education.
Pancasila and civic education.
Terima kasih. Thank you very much for Prof. Veugelers.
Build the characters.
Lecture today. Siapa yang mau fotograf?
Saya aja Pak, saya aja.
Oh, ada yang ingin foto? Oh, sudah ya, ada yang sudah ya tadi ya. Saya kira besok saja lah fotonya ya. Nanti kan teman-teman bisa lihat di YouTube atau di Zoom. Oh, tidak bisa. Oh, they want
Tapi gantian ya, ini dulu baru itu dulu ya. Oke, yang bagian sebelah sini dulu boleh foto di sini dengan Prof.
Satu kelas A dulu, kelas A dulu.
Atau Pak 50. Oh boleh, kelas A dulu boleh. Mana HP yang mau dulu foto? Profnya di situ terus mereka di belakangnya ya saya?
Iya, ini saya matikan dulu.
Iya, profnya di
Iya, di belakang. Coba di sini, di tengah.
Ayo, kelas A, ayo.